To order the Sparks City Council meeting for Monday, April 14th with a roll call.
Mayor Lawson.
Here.
Council members Abbott.
Here.
Vanderwell. Here. Anderson.
Here.
Bybee. Here. Rodriguez.
Here.
City Attorney Duncan.
Here.
Assistant City Manager McCormick. Here. We have a quorum. Thank you.
Thank you. And our invocation speaker today is Pastor Carlos Camacho. Welcome back.
Bow your heads and close your eyes so we can pray together. Father in heaven, it is such a privilege, Father, to be able to begin our business, the business of this city, by asking for your presence to be here today. We thank you because we know that we don't only just do that, but you are actually doing that. We thank you. And today, Father, in the name of Jesus, we ask that you give us the wisdom, Father, and that you continue to bestow it upon each one of the elected officials, intelligence, application, desire, and a passion, Father, to continue to listen to the voice of the Spirit, to be able to do the best for this city, Father. Lord, I thank you for each one of the spiritual leaders throughout the city, the members of the churches, the people who are praying so that we will continue to grow and learn and that we can have a better city every single day. Father, we also thank you for every single one of the people involved in making this city a better place. May you give us the wisdom to continue to move forward. May we work together. May we find ways to join your efforts, the efforts of God, in everything that we do. And so we thank you and we ask for your presence here today. In Jesus' name, amen and amen.
Zion, let's make it a two-piece.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You missed the line. All right. Public comment. So Rob, Ahmed, and you're going to bring everybody up? Did all you guys fill out a card for us? Yeah. Perfect. Come on up. This is the chamber leadership class.
Yeah, my name is Sharab. I'm with, obviously, like Mayor Lawson said, with the Chamber of Commerce Leadership class. And I just wanted to express how when Mayor Lawson came in to do his lecture for our class, it was very eye-opening after the fact, doing the research about how Sparks is developing. And since I am a business owner, it does directly affect what is going on in Sparks. And it was very enlightening to see where he's trying to go and what he's trying to do for the community of Sparks. And I applaud Mayor Lawson and the committee as well too, what you guys are doing and to benefit the city of Sparks.
Alexis White with the Chamber Leadership class. I'm just grateful to be here and thank you for the opportunity.
Rebecca Ryan, Chamber Leadership class. I just want to thank you guys for your work, born and raised, and I'm very, very happy to still be here. So thank you guys.
Good afternoon. First and foremost, I want to sincerely thank you for your service and commitment to our community. It's clear that your roles require both dedication and thoughtful leadership. And I commend the work you do in shaping Sparks' growth and future. And we're really excited to be here and to become leaders in our civic endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thanks for being here.
And what businesses? Can you tell us who you all work
Yeah,
for?
what businesses you have?
Yeah.
I have a manufacturing firm, so I do food, supplements, and pharmaceuticals. And my background is biochemistry.
I work for Hometown Health.
I work for Rock Recruiter.
I work for the Reno Sports Convention and Visitors Authority.
Oh, that's why Charlene wants
Well,
Just to
I
get a
knew who
plug in.
Donald did, but I didn't know the others.
Well, thank you guys for being here. We appreciate it. It's one of my true joys. And as I told you guys at the last meeting, is you guys are the future. Develop these relationships because you're going to be dealing with each other for decades to come. And good luck. Yeah, you bet.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to approval of the agenda. Anyone wishing to change anything? If not, I'm looking for a motion. Ms. Vanderwell.
I move to approve the agenda as submitted.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Okay, looking for approval of the minutes. Any additions, subtractions? If not, I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Anderson,
Move to approve the minutes for the Sparks City Council meeting for March 24th, 2025.
Mr. Abbott.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Announcements, proclamation, Public Safety Telecommunications Week. I believe you have this one, Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Is there anyone here for that, by the way? Come on down. Have a seat. We'll read the proclamation, then say a few words afterwards, and we'll get your picture for the millions of people that watch us every day.
All right, the City of Sparks proclamation. Whereas residents of Sparks called 911 or non-emergency dispatch for help in emergencies and for other assistance over 175,000 times in 2024. And whereas our emergency communications dispatchers are the first contact for a person in crisis and are knowledgeable, highly trained employees who work closely with police, fire, and emergency medical personnel to gather vital information and dispatch public safety assistance, often making the difference between life and death. And whereas Sparks residents enjoy a high standard of public safety because of emergency communications personnel who apply their expertise in dispatching help to ensure public safety. And whereas our emergency communications dispatchers are among more than 500,000 telecommunications specialists who work daily to protect the public and promote public safety across our nation. Now, therefore, I, Joe Rodriguez, on behalf of Mayor Lawson, City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim April 13th through the 19th of 2025 as Public Safety Communications Week.
Give us your name for the record.
Connie Shepherd, Police Services Manager over the 911 Communications Center, and I'd just like to thank you for recognizing the work that our staff does and our personnel, because they do work hard to serve the city of Sparks the best to their ability. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Joe, you want to get a picture? We're going to have you take a picture with Councilman Rodriguez. We'll post it for the millions of viewers. Okay, thank you. All right, 7.2, Fair Housing Month. Ms. Vanderwell.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I believe we should have someone from Silver State Housing here. Great. Whereas April 2025 marks the 57th anniversary of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1978, known as the Civil Rights Fair Housing Act. And whereas the Civil Rights Fair Housing Act provides equal housing opportunity for all Americans regardless of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, as well as to ensure fair practices in the sale, rental, and financing of real property. And whereas the Fair Housing Amendments Act of 1988 strengthened enforcement procedures and added new rights, remedies, and penalties for violations of the Civil Rights Fair Housing Act. And whereas the Fair Housing Amendments Act seeks to provide equal housing opportunities to affirmatively expand housing choices to eliminate legal barriers to all equal housing and to emphasize equal housing as a fundamental human right for all. And whereas individuals in the city of Sparks have the right to choose where to live without discrimination based on race, color, religion, age, sex, disability, gender identity, familial status, or national origin. And whereas the city of Sparks fully supports the intent and purpose of the Civil Rights Fair Housing Act, Fair Housing Amendments Act, and state and local fair housing laws, and follows policies and practices to achieve the goals of these laws. Now therefore, I, Ed Lawson, Mayor of the City of Sparks, Nevada, do hereby proclaim April 2025 as Fair Housing Month.
Give us your name for the record.
My name is Joel Lindsay. I'm Director of Programs with Silver State Fair Housing Council. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members, for giving me this opportunity to speak before you today. Silver State Fair Housing Council, we're a private nonprofit agency advocating for equal housing opportunity here in the state of Nevada for all residents of Nevada. We have had a close and productive relationship with the city of Sparks for many years, working to affirmatively further fair housing through education and advocacy. And we are very grateful to work with Amy Jones and Casey Chawla. On behalf of the Board of Trustees and the staff of Silver State Fair Housing Council, thank you for continuing your efforts to affirmatively further fair housing in the city of Sparks. In continued partnership with the city of Sparks, Silver State Fair Housing Council will continue to advocate for equal housing opportunity and to break down barriers in our community. Just to give some information or some background on the activities that we have conducted, Silver State Fair Housing Council has received over 200 calls from residents of the city of Sparks who were counseled and advised of their fair housing rights and referred to the appropriate agencies for further assistance when necessary. Our agency has assisted 9 residents of the city of Sparks with either filing a complaint with HUD's Office of Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity, or assisting with making initial or follow-up reasonable accommodation or reasonable modification requests. And reasonable accommodation requests are afforded to individuals with disabilities, which allows them to make a request to their housing provider to allow them to have any changes to any rules, policies, or procedures that would allow individuals with disabilities to use and enjoy their dwelling. And reasonable modifications are physical changes, asking for physical changes to the property. We assisted a resident with a hearing impairment with making a reasonable accommodation request to their housing provider to be allowed to have a fence installed. And the installation of this fence was to allow them to keep the dog within the fenced area. And that accommodation was granted. And this also allowed this individual to continue to live independently. Another example, we assisted a client who needed an accessible aisle painted or striped so as not to allow other tenants to park in the area and block the accessible route between the parking lot to their home. That accommodation was also granted. We assisted a resident of City of Sparks with making a reasonable accommodation request to the City of Sparks, to the parking enforcement, to allow them to park their vehicle on the street as opposed to having them park their vehicle in their steep driveway. There was a city ordinance that would not allow for vehicles to be parked for more than 48 hours, I believe, on the public street. But due to their disability and their steep driveway, they couldn't park in their driveway, so therefore they had to have their vehicle on the street. So they made that accommodation request to the City of Sparks, and they were able to grant that accommodation. And it's just an example that in all of these cases, these reasonable accommodations allow Sparks residents to maintain and have equal housing equal opportunity to their housing. And so again, thank you for proclaiming April as Fair Housing Month. And again, for your continued efforts to affirmatively further fair housing in the city of Sparks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll get a picture with you over here and. All right, we'll move on to Arbor Day.
Do we have anyone here for the Arbor Day? Oh, even folks we know. All right. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day should be set aside for the planting of trees, and Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas an Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees reduce erosion of precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-saving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for fires, and countless other products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of a business area, beautify our communities, and are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. And whereas the city of Sparks is recognized as a Tree City USA by the National Arbor Day Foundation. Now therefore, Ed Lawson, Mayor of the City of Sparks of Nevada, do hereby proclaim April 25th, 2025 as Arbor Day, and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands.
Brandon Miles, Parks Development Coordinator, for the record. I just want to thank you guys for recognizing Arbor Day. This year, we're partnering with Marvin Moss Elementary School, and we're going to do a tree planting on the final Friday of April. I think we're going to shoot for around 10 a.m., and hopefully we'll have a great time with the kids out there on April 25th. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's move on to 7.4, presentation on update on the grant applications for fire fuels reduction.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Sorry for the delay there. Mel Evans, Grants Administrator, for the record. Good afternoon. Purpose today is to inform you about 2 grants in which we've applied and will likely receive notice of outcome within the next couple of months. They both address fire fuel mitigation. I worked with 2 different departments on these applications with the respective project managers listed, Captain Caldwell and Safety Coordinator Paul Shapiro. Casey's here today in case we have questions. Both were instrumental in helping me gather data. This first grant is for dumpster rentals to support green waste disposal and fuels management around the city. The grant will align with the National Cohesive Wildland Fire Management Strategy Plan, I'm only saying that once, which aims to reduce wildfire risk, promote defensive space, enhance public safety, and foster community engagement. No match is required for this $29,000 ask, but we will contribute labor towards the effort in the amount of $4,000, which bodes well for competition and award. This will include fire personnel as well as community outreach efforts. Dumpsters will be placed strategically around the city, 8 for each cycle, planning for 2 extras during the season, each season for overfill and for the highest need. Upon award, these dumpsters will be placed hopefully within a month or 2, and again in the fall of 2025 and the spring of 26. And where will they be located? In the area of Home Run Drive and Vista Boulevard, in the north parking lot of Shadow Martin Park, Sparks Fire Station 4, Bareback Drive near Tumbleweed Trails Park, Village Knoll and Sparks Boulevard, 98 Richards Way, which of course is Parks and Rec's offices, Vintage Hills and Oak Ridge Drive, and Vecchio Drive. And we should know sometime next month if we're awarded. This picture just shows you the approximate size. The purpose of this grant is to reduce wildfire fuel by utilizing Spanish goat grazing, which eliminates the Lepidium draba population, otherwise known as white weeds, on a 65-acre parcel on the Tumworth property very near the facility. This grant is through FEMA via the Nevada State Department of Emergency Management, and the total project cost is $397,215 with a 25% required match of $99,303, which comes out of our operations fund split between Reno and Sparks. Sparks will cover 38.16%, which is $37,894, and Reno's share is 61.84%, or $61,409 as the required match, and Reno will not have to take this to council. We should know for awarded hopefully sometime in this summer, as the money's already been allocated by the state of Nevada, by FEMA. As you know, we did not receive the DNR, Department of Natural Resources grant last summer, but that was only for one cycle, so this is actually better. The DEM group did not get a lot of applications, just barely enough to meet the allocation, so that bodes well for us. It's worth noting that we did have a fire there after we were turned down by DNR, and the chances of that happening again are, likely. Bird dropped its prey onto the electrical wires, which ignited a fire, and it was extinguished right away, but, these things happen. It's a picture of the existing weeds, and then the 65-acre, if you can see the little triangle there, that's the property just west of where the facility is. And you'll see scopes of work in your packets, just in case you have more questions about that. I'm happy to answer questions, and we've got subject matter experts in the room. So with that, concludes my presentation.
Any
Thanks.
questions from the council? Ms. Bybee?
Hey, Mel, thank you. So you said we're hoping to know in the summer if we receive the grant for the goats. How soon would they go out this summer then?
We'll do it immediately. I think Captain Caldwell has a relationship with whoever provides the dumpsters and can probably get that going fairly quickly, but we are obviously waiting for the award.
Okay, for the dumpsters or the goats?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Goats.
For the goats, I think Paul, Casey maybe can answer this better, but I believe Paul said that we could probably execute that fairly quickly, and we are doing 3 cycles of that.
Okay, and how long do they keep, are they out there when they come out until they remove all the,
something like that? 9 days, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, and it's interesting, I don't want to get into the real specifics of this because I don't know about goats, but I will tell you that when they eat it, their bodies process it, so when the seeds come back out, they are not seeds that can be germinated. The other weeds that will come up for rounds 2 and 3 come from the air. But if you have goats on it, just on it 3 times like that, it's gonna really help over those 3 seasons.
Okay, thank you. I love that, and I saw goats years ago in California on the hills, and I'm like, it's just such a cool way to mitigate, especially our cheatgrass and some of those grasses that are really tough for us to go out and keep mowing down. So thank you, and I appreciate your work.
Absolutely, it's very eco-friendly and the public loves that.
Anyone else? Okay, thanks, Mel. All right, consent items. Anybody wishing to pull a consent item? If not, I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Abbott,
I move to approve consent items 8.1 through 8.4.
Mr. Rodriguez. Second. Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. 9.1, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a resolution number 3461, amending the process for appointing members to the Citizen Advisory Committee for the City of Sparks, dissolving the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee, Equity and Inclusion Advisory Board, and Sparks Senior Citizens Advisory Committee, and other matters properly related thereto.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. For the record, Wes Duncan, City Attorney. I'm here to present resolution number 3461, which is item 9.1, that amends the process for appointing members to the Citizens Advisory Committee and dissolves 3 other committees. We're essentially here because each of these boards was really struggling to meet its intended mission, with many parts of their functions either overlapping with other committees throughout the city, or actually some of the functions actually becoming defunct. And furthermore, staff was actually struggling to get meaningful input and was really spending an inordinate amount of time trying to prepare meetings, get citizen engagement,
and they were really struggling to do so. So that's really why this resolution is before you today. So in essence, this resolution does several things. First of all, it dissolves the Arts and Culture Committee, the Equity and Inclusion Board, and the Sparks Senior Citizens Advisory Committee. All of those committees will go away with passage of this resolution. Second, it's going to change the composition and the procedures of the existing Sparks Citizen Advisory Committee. And then third, it allows for each member of the City Council to appoint to the Citizens Advisory Committee. Each City Council person will have an appointment, with the mayor having 2 appointments, one of which one of those appointments by the mayor may have a background in either performing arts, visual arts, or humanities, if that person is available and has applied. And the new members are going to serve a term that is concurrent with all of your terms. So for example, if Councilman Abbott, right, when he was elected for his 4-year term, appointed someone, that person would have 4 terms. If someone is appointed in the middle of someone else's term, they'll have, their term will go as long as the elected officials. And members serve at the pleasure of the elected officials. So at any time, if the person moves or stops performing their duties, at the sole discretion of the appointing elected official, they'll be allowed to make a change if they so choose. And furthermore, if an elected official is having a hard time finding someone in their ward, they can appoint someone outside of the ward. Certainly we were trying to get people within your ward, but if that's not possible, you have the flexibility to be able to do that, with a caveat that they have to be a resident of the city of Sparks. And fourth, meetings are going to be conducted as determined by the input of the chair and in coordination with city staff. So that's really going to give the chair the flexibility to work with the city manager's office to try to coordinate meetings, and that could mean there could be multiple meetings in 1 month, or during the summer months, if there's not as much going on, you can take a little break. So it gives a lot more flexibility in that. And finally, the city manager's office is going to, it says shall serve as the liaison to this board. And so that's really a summary of what this resolution does and will accomplish, and I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Questions from the council? Bybee.
So Wes, the total new advisory, citizen advisory, would be a total of 7
Yes.
members, no alternates?
No alternates. Really, I think what we're really trying to accomplish with this resolution is to really have meaningful engagement from the folks who are appointed from each of the wards. Candidly, just as a logistical matter, you put alternates, it's hard to get people on the dais. And also, because of the flexibility of the resolution, if a person isn't working out or has to move, or they're sick, or they can no longer serve, each elected official is going to have that flexibility to be able to appoint someone right away at your discretion, and they serve at your pleasure. So that flexibility, I think, works. What we're really trying to accomplish is let's get meaningful engagement from the 7 citizens that want to be a part of this committee, and I think that's what this resolution does.
Okay. And I think it's a big shift, and I know our other committees were formed specifically for arts and culture, for our equity committee, for our senior citizen committee. The intent of what we wanted to do, I think, has always been really good, but we have struggled with people being able to be on the committee. How many do we have? And as you said, really effectiveness. And we want people, when we ask them to get involved, to feel like they're making meaningful decisions and input for us, because that's the whole intent, is for them to give the city, and specifically the mayor and council, input. And from a citizen's perspective, we want to hear their voices. And so I think that's super, super important. I guess as I look to just having one, and I'll probably be, I would hope that we can maybe include in each of us, as we consider who, that we still have a mix of someone that represents the art community, someone is senior citizen. So the other committees kind of still, their voices coming onto this together, but I think it also gives the residents who serve on this a bigger voice, other than just senior or just arts and culture, that they would have a stronger voice. But I'm hoping that we can, the makeup of this committee, and I guess that's up to all of us, to make sure that we get a true representation, because I don't want to have a committee that has no arts and culture or has no senior citizen representation or no equity inclusion. So kind of, I know that's a balance for us. So that would be my only concern, and I guess that's up to us as we decide who we would consider. I don't want to lose that voice, and I do want them to have a stronger voice for us and feel like their time they're giving us is more worthwhile and valuable to the city and the decisions that we make. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree and understand completely where you're coming from. I think what it actually does is that it allows us to be just more intentional and to work more cooperatively. I have assurances from the city manager's office. They're going to be really working with each of you to try to figure out what the composition of this citizens board is going to really look like. And, you know, you obviously have other appointments from the Charter Committee to the Civil Service Commission to other appointments that you all get to make. So this isn't the only board where you get to make an appointment. Really, I mean, staff was really struggling. I mean, we were getting feedback from members of these dissolved committees that they were essentially saying to us, you know, I sit on this committee, but it doesn't really feel like I'm doing meaningful work. And staff, quite candidly, was really, really struggling to try to get that feedback from these boards about, well, what do you want to hear about? And they weren't serving the function of really advising and giving you all, I mean, I think everybody agrees, myself included, citizen input into what we do as policymakers or as legal advisors to the city is extremely important. And so what this resolution does is that it focuses, I think, the efforts and the mission of this board to really be able to capture a wide array of different topics that they can look at. And it really is incumbent upon all of you to find who are those folks that live in your wards or in our city that really want to be engaged, that are really have the time to be engaged, and that are willing to tackle a whole host of different issues. And so that's why I think the resolution really makes sense. And I think as we look into it and we take that burden off of staff, and you all can be intentional about appointing folks from your ward who are really into this, the citizens will feel like they're more engaged and they have a wider range of topics to go over. So I think it's a good.
Mr. Rabbit. Thank you. I got a couple. So on the, I guess, more feedback when we're getting ready to do our application for the, we're still calling it the SDAC, right? That's still going to be the name of it. Are we able to maybe put like a checkbox where if someone wants to apply, they want to represent the art community, they could check that box, or they want to represent the senior or equity inclusionary, just so maybe all of us, as we're looking at those applications, we can see, you know, where is their strong suit. You know, maybe they are a senior and they can do art. Maybe they can do two boxes. I don't know. But just so when we're looking at that, I think that'd be helpful for myself. I think all of us make sure that we have a good representation on the future board. And then other questions. So obviously I definitely helped get our SSCAC, our senior board, going and alive. That board historically has had concurrent meetings with Washoe County as well as City of Reno together. The county board has chosen, I think, to no longer really do, because some of those concurrent stuff is a lot for staff. If there was an interest of like, I guess the question is, what would be the Older Americans Month is coming up in May. We always have kind of like a little subcommittee based on people. Are we able to, and I don't see why we couldn't, of having whoever's on this board, and maybe we have two senior representatives that are, maybe they're our point of contact for OAM. So I guess general question is there still the ability to have maybe concurrent meetings? Say if there's an art in Reno, they want to have a concurrent with us. We're still able to do that with this?
So to answer your question, so actually Section 5 of the resolution covers subcommittees, so they're going to be able to do subcommittees, and I don't think there'll be a legal barrier to we'd have to work with the other jurisdictions and potentially have folks that are representative of that, but we can certainly work with that. So I don't think there's a legal barrier to it. To answer your first question in terms of, applications, that's the beauty of this resolution. You all aren't pigeonholed into like, this person has to meet this exact specification. You all can kind of work with the city manager's office to determine, here's what I'd like to see on this citizens advisory board. It doesn't have to meet the check boxes of those dissolved committees. It can if that's your interest, but really it allows you to really find folks that are going to be engaged. So if you've got some great seniors in Ward 1 that you think, they're going to be great to serve on this committee, and you'd like them to be the senior citizen representative, you think that's important, you can certainly make that desire known to the city manager's office. So that I don't think there's not a legal issue with how the application is or anything, but that's why you'll be able to work with the city manager who's your liaison on it.
Yeah, so I saw the subcommittee thing, but a concurrent meeting. Like if the Arts and Culture Meeting in Reno or the Senior Advisory Board wanted to get together with this one, there's no issues there either.
I don't think, we'd look at it, I'd look at it. I don't think there's gonna be an issue with that, really, because if there's members on there that represent those interests and the other jurisdictions are okay with us doing a concurrent meeting, I don't see a legal barrier.
Okay. And I got one more follow-up, just for me. So you're speaking of that we could change through our city manager how we want the SCAC to be. Won't we need to amend that resolution that created the SCAC to make those changes?
So this it is the resolution that makes changes to the Citizens Advisory Board. You're saying the Senior Citizens Advisory Board?
No, you're right.
Park Citizens
So that-
Advisory.
So that's what this does. So
You're right,
that resolution.
Okay, Mr. Anderson.
Want to thank City Manager's office as well as all the staff for bringing this to us. I've got a feeling that most all of us, if not all of us up here, have heard from the members voicing the frustration that you mentioned, that they just felt like that there wasn't much happening. And some of these members have been very active, showing up to the meetings, doing everything they can to be productive. And I really hope this is what becomes of this one consolidated group. And I just want to thank all the staff that have been involved over the years with these different groups. I just want to voice my concern, and you pointed this out, that the city manager's office can kind of work as the go-between, because I'm not going to be communicating with the other board members for open meeting reasons about who they're picking. But I just want to make sure that we don't end up with no senior citizens or no one with business backgrounds or no one, you know what I mean? That, and again, I don't know how you make sure that we're getting all the different ones involved. And I think that's going to be part of the city manager's job of trying to balance that. But then the other thing I want to encourage is, if we have members that have been appointed, please, please, please let us as a council member that appointed that individual, if they're not actually showing up and active in the committee, let us know so that we can put someone in there that really wants to do the job. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just kind of want to echo a lot of the same concerns that I know my colleagues have. And initially when I was hearing about this, I was very apprehensive and pretty vocal about it, but I do understand like staff's time, and I want our members of the community to feel appreciated and their time's valued. So I mean, overall, I agree with the idea, but I do want to share that I want to be voting no on this, just because there are a couple things in this that does concern me. But with that being said, I overall do appreciate our staff's time on this. So thanks.
One more question. So our current members that sit on the committees that are going to be dissolved, have they been notified? And I think it's important for us to let them know of the consolidation, that they're eligible to reapply. I mean, I want to handle people who've already spent time and given us a commitment, and some of mine are brand new. Know what, I don't know if we sent anything. It'll be after today, I would guess. I guess it would be Allison, just so we know that they know, and then they know that they can apply for this and what the process will be.
Councilwoman Bybee, Allison McCormick for the record. Staff did reach out to the members of each of the four committees that are being essentially consolidated to let them know that this item was going to be on the agenda, thanking them for their service and encouraging them to reapply for the new board if they would like.
Okay. Mr. Abbott?
Yeah, so I reached out to all mine personally and just kind of picked their brain a little bit. And one of the questions that came up from the ones that are on the SCAC, are they automatically off SCAC now and need to reapply? Or where are we at on that?
Yes, so this resolution is gonna creates basically the new makeup and the new SCAC.
New old board.
And so you all will be making your appointments, and that's how it'll go forward.
Rodriguez.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, sorry, one last question. One of the things that, one of the things that kind of did bother me on this one was, under section F, the 3 unexcused absences. It says that the chair will result in automatic termination. Will we, as the appointing elected members, be notified if our appointee missed 1, 2, or looking at being terminated? Like, would we be advised, like kind of a courtesy before our members being rejected automatically or terminated?
Yeah, I can't speak for the city manager's office, but I assume that there's gonna be that feedback.
Yes, we would want to provide that feedback in part so that you can talk to the person you appointed and say, hey man, like you've got to show up for your meetings. Or, ask them if they want to be replaced.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? All right, I'm looking for a motion then. Mr. Anderson.
I move to approve resolution number 3461, amending the process for appointing members to the Citizens Advisory Committee for the City of Sparks and dissolving the Arts and Culture Advisory Committee, Equity and Inclusion Advisory Committee, and the Sparks Senior Citizens Advisory Committee.
Ms. Vanderwell.
Second.
All right, I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Real quick. Sorry. I'll just say, as someone that also has heard the comments and suggestions over the years, I'm really looking forward to this future board where, and I think speaking with staff, I think we're going to change how we kind of handle this internally where maybe we can put more things in front of this board than we've ever done. Like I know for SCAC, the 5-6 years, I think the only thing we ever had them really do was that $100,000 picking for senior stuff, where I think hopefully we can give them more input and really find value in this. Because that, we have a senior board that was made up of 13 individuals, I think. Today, well, before we vote, we have 2 members down. And so people are just not interested in attending. It's not my words, their words, it's a waste of their time. So I really am excited. I think we can bring this all together and still find good representation in this. So just want to throw that out there.
Okay, any other discussion? Got a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion carries 4-1 with Rodriguez in opposition. Okay, 9.2, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of resolution number 3458 to augment the FY25 budget by $21,617,293 in various funds to provide appropriations for capital projects approved but not completed in prior years. Wayne.
Good afternoon, Mayor Lawson, members of City Council. For the record, Wayne Weber, City of Sparks Budget Manager. Today, we seek your approval to reestablish or augment the fiscal year 25 budget in the amount of $21,617,293 as required by NRS. Now I have the hard part done, so. This augmentation covers prior year approved and funded capital projects still in progress. This year, I wanted to try and present this just a little more easier for you to see. So on the screen, you can see what this $21 million augmentation request looks like. The biggest portion of our augmentation, of course, is in our sewer fund of $14.5 million, and that is broken out by $4.5 million in City of Sparks sewer funding and TUMWRF of $10 million. Attached to your agenda item was a detailed project list by fund, and with that, hopefully I can answer any questions from the council.
Any questions from the council? Okay. This is old hat for us, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Thanks, Wayne. All right, no questions. I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Abbott.
Move to adopt resolution number 3458 to augment the FY25 Capital Projects Fund Enterprise Funds Internal Services Funds by $21,617,293 to provide appropriations for capital projects approved but not completed in prior years.
Ms. Bybee.
I'll second that motion.
We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. 9.3, consideration, discussion, and possible action to select the conceptual development proposal submitted by the Reno Housing Authority to develop affordable housing at 2026 I Street, Sparks, Nevada, with APN 031-184-08. Amy Jones,
Good afternoon.
Housing Specialist Extraordinaire.
Good afternoon, Mayor Lawson and members of council. My name is Amy Jones and I am the housing specialist. I am before you today to present and recommend the selection of the Reno Housing Authority's conceptual design to develop affordable housing at 2026 I Street. As you will recall, the city purchased 2026 I Street in February of 2024. The parcel is just over 0.2 acres in size, and it is located in a single-family neighborhood with a mix of single-family homes and multifamily apartments just off Sullivan Lane. The site is outlined in red on the screen. To the north is Audi Boulevard, and to the south is Prater Way. The parcel is located less than a mile from grocery stores, restaurants, shopping, parks, recreation, healthcare, and less than half a mile from the nearest bus stops. The Nevada Housing Division was the agency that was designated to administer the Home Means Nevada Initiative funds, and the City of Sparks was required to enter into a grant agreement with the Housing Division in order to receive those funds. Included in that grant agreement was the requirements that affordable housing be developed on the site, serving households earning 60% of the area median income and below, and it must maintain an affordability period of 30 years. The city released a request for proposal in May of 24. However, we did not receive any submissions at that time. We released a second RFP on October 16th, and we received one submission from the Reno Housing Authority. The RHA submitted the conceptual project for the I Street Apartments. The project will include 12 units consisting of studio and one-bedroom units. The Housing Authority has committed to serving households earning 50% and below of the area median income. All 12 units will have a project-based voucher assigned to those units, so that allows the Housing Authority to assist households actually earning 0 to 50% of the area median income. The project-based voucher is a subsidy, so the households would pay approximately 30% of their income toward the rent, and the Housing Authority would pay remaining. The property will remain affordable for 50 years. Additionally, the households will have access to the Housing Authority's workforce development programs to support stability and self-sufficiency. RHA estimates the project cost to be $5,430,520 with a per unit cost of $452,543. The Reno Housing Authority provided the tentative timeline on the slide should the project be selected. In 2025, they will complete planning, architectural design and engineering, explore construction methods, permitting, and community engagement. In 2026, completion of the design, contractor selection, procurement of materials, site preparation, and they anticipate a 12-month construction time beginning around Q3 of 2026. And they estimate the project to be completed late spring, early summer of 2027, with the full lease up and occupancy completed by the Q3 of 2027. Just something to note that the Housing Authority is very familiar with the Home Means Nevada Initiative funding. They were actually awarded over $51 million to develop and preserve affordable housing for these 8 properties listed on the slide. And just a note, Rail Yard Flats, John McGraw Court, and Silver Sage Court are all listed in, located in the city of Sparks. The next 2 slides include photos of the 2 most recent infill projects completed by the Reno Housing Authority. I believe most of you are very familiar with Rail Yard Flats located at 419 10th Street. The property opened in November of 2024. It consists of 15 units, 1 and 2 bedroom units serving households earning 60% and below the area median income. And this is Dick Scott Manor, located at 1035 8th Street in Reno. It opened in August of 2024, and this site includes 12 studio 1 and 2 bedroom units, serving homeless veterans in partnership with the Veterans Administration. So should council select RHA's conceptual design of the affordable housing development project of I Street today, the next steps are the city will enter into a development agreement with the Reno Housing Authority, which would include the requirement that affordable housing be developed on the site, compliance with the declaration of restricted covenants running with the land, assumption of the HM&I grant agreement, timeline of the project, as well as there would be a clause included that should the Housing Authority not develop this property within the time frame provided, the property would come back to the city. The city would transfer the HM&I grant agreement to the Housing Authority via an assignment and assumption agreement. And then finally, the city would transfer the property via a quitclaim deed. Again, there would be a clause in that as well, indicating should the property not be developed for affordable housing in the time frame provided, it would come back to the city. Those items would come back before council at a later meeting. The recommended motion is listed on the screen. That concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer quick questions, and representatives from the Reno Housing Authority are also here in the audience should you have questions.
Questions from the council? Mr. Abbott.
Not really any question, just a shout out to Hillary and the whole RHA team. I know I got a phone call, I think Wednesday or Thursday this week, of someone that lives right next door, and they had a whole bunch of questions that I tried to answer as many as I could, but I reached out to RHA and they got onto it. They were very happy, so I just want to thank you guys for your communication there. Because obviously, any development, it's been an empty lot since she was a kid, so she's lived there for many years. So I just appreciate that, and I'm excited for a good project in the neighborhood.
Mr. Anderson.
So once again, what's the size of the piece of property?
It's 0.207 of an acre.
So a very small lot and 10, 12 units?
12 units, correct.
Awesome. And how does that compare to Railroad Flats? What size parcel is Railroad Flats? Oh, so a little bit bigger, which would make sense that it's a little more space, but yeah, very efficient. I appreciate all the work you guys are doing. Great job. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, and I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Abbott.
I move to select the conceptual development proposal submitted by the Reno Housing Authority to develop affordable housing at 2026 I Street, APN 031-184-08.
Ms. Vanderwell,
Second.
I've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
9.4, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a forensic services agreement, AC 6100, between Washoe County on behalf of the Washoe County Sheriff's Office and the City of Sparks on behalf of the Sparks Police Department from July 1, 2024 to June 30, 2025, in the amount of $1 million.
I like that.
A little Austin Powers reference there.
Good afternoon, Mayor and members of council. For the record, I'm Chris Crawforth, your police chief. Mayor, with your permission, I'd like to present items 9.4 and 9.5 together as.
Yep, we'll vote separately.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. Item 9.4 is a contract with the Washoe County Sheriff's Office for forensic services for this current fiscal year, FY 24-25. The Sheriff's Office has been providing the service this year, but the contract was never sent to us to formalize it, which is why we're here today late in the fiscal year. Item 9.5 is a contract with the Washoe County Sheriff's Office for forensic services for the upcoming fiscal year, next fiscal year, FY 25 and 26. Each year is a $1 million contract, as the mayor stated, and is currently funded in the current fiscal year and in the proposed fiscal year for next year as well within the police department budget. As I've previously discussed, the Sheriff's Office has been working towards implementing the a la carte system to try and reduce costs a little bit. For example, last year, the costs were $30,000 less than that, so there has been some improvements where it's not growing as great as it has been in the past. Currently, the Crime Lab conducts several tests on a single item sent to them. Some of those tests are not necessary for our cases. Due to the improvements in the science, the Crime Lab is working to allow us to choose which tests we would like performed, thus reducing costs and time. The Sparks Police Department has also worked diligently to limit the number of items that we are sending to the lab. All of these actions will ensure a better stabilization of costs moving into the future for our city and the police department. However, as with everything else we're seeing, the cost of operating the crime lab has seen its inflationary woes, which is eating away at our cost-saving measures. However, the Sheriff's Office has still not finalized the a la carte menu. The sheriff assures me that by the next time I'm here that it will be done. The costs for the fiscal year and next are fixed and will remain the same regardless of any services that they render. We have reviewed other options. The closest options are in neighboring states. If we did that, that would require courier services that are very costly just due to the nature of presenting evidence and or us sending people through I-80, either east or west, are the closest labs, and both those, as you're well aware, have a lot of white stuff during the winter, which changes how we get there. Much of the reporting, the lab analysis that occurs has to come back to our state, so that is another issue that if we send it out of state, we still have to get the information back, and the Sheriff's Office would actually have to submit it into the federal database is the way it works. At this time, once again, the additional costs would not make this a fiscally sound option, in our opinion, to move elsewhere. So with that, that is what I have, and staff recommends approval, but I'm here for any questions.
All right, questions from the council. Ms. Bybee.
So Chief, for the first item, 9.4, it's for this current fiscal year that they've been doing the work for us, but we haven't had a contract or paid them for that as of yet.
Correct.
But it is budgeted in this year. We've already have it budgeted for this year's fiscal budget, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, let's take a vote on 9.4. I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Anderson.
I move to approve agreement AC 6100 between Washoe County on behalf of Washoe County Sheriff's Office and the City of Sparks on behalf of the Sparks Police Department to provide forensic services from January 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025 in the amount of $1 million.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Second.
We've got a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, he said January instead of.
May I make a correction that the services are from July 1st, 2024 to June 30th, 2025.
Correction noted. seconder, Mr. Rodriguez, you agree to the change?
Yes.
Okay. All right, no further discussion. Please vote. Motion carries unanimously. 9.5, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a forensic services agreement, AC 6101, between Washoe County on behalf of the Washoe County Sheriff's Office and the City of Sparks on behalf of the Sparks Police Department from July 1, 2025 to June 30, 2026, in the amount of $1 million. You've got a presentation on this. Any other questions? If not, I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Rodriguez?
I move to approve.
Got a motion by Mr. Rodriguez and Mr. Anderson.
I'll second that.
And I got a second by Mr. Anderson. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please vote. I've switched into another meeting in my head. Motion carries unanimously. Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
9.6, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a construction contract AC 6103 in the amount of $1,508,371.30 with Peak Brothers Construction, Inc. for the G Street Sewer Improvement and Tumwa Water Main Relocation, bid number 24/25-1013, PWP #WA 2025-204. You did that to me on purpose, didn't you?
Got to get all those numbers in.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of the council. Rob Bedart for the utility manager for the record. As so eloquently stated by the mayor, this is a sewer project to correct an existing overcapacity condition on G Street sewer line between 10th Street and Pyramid Way. The contract also includes a replacement and relocation of a Tumwa water line that Tumwa will be reimbursing the city through an interlocal agreement that you guys approved back in January on the last meeting of January. The funding for this project was approved in FY23 CIP. We received 4 bids on this project, 2 of which were below our engineer's estimate of $1,550,000. The low bid on this was $1,508,317.30 from Peak Brothers Construction. The project is scheduled to be completed in mid-September, and staff recommends award of the contract to Peak Brothers Construction. With that, I'll open it up to any questions you might have.
Questions from the council? Vanderwell.
Thank you. Can you go ahead and say what the amount is again?
So the low bid was $1,508,317.30.
71.
Okay, well, it says 71 on our agenda, so I'm just curious.
I may have it wrong in the text. It's right in the agenda.
You don't want to.
It's right in the agenda, so 371.
371 and 30 cents.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
I'll cheat you out of $60.
That too.
That wouldn't be good.
Okay. So I'm looking for a motion. Mr. Abbott.
Motion to approve.
Ms. Vanderwell.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously. 9.7, consideration, discussion, and possible approval of a construction contract AC 6106 in the amount of $472,155 with Resource Development Company LLC for the Springland Sewer Improvement Project, bid number 24/25-007, PWP #WA-2025-080. I got it better that time.
Rob Bedart, utility manager for the record. So, as stated, this is a sewer project to correct flow condition issues that our public works crews continually monitor and clean on a regular basis. The project is located north of Bering Boulevard and east of Reed High School. The project will replace approximately 200 lineal feet of sewer line on Springland Drive and replace a sewer manhole in the intersection of Waterfield and Round Mountain. The funding for this project was awarded in FY '25 CIP. We received 8 bids on this project, 4 of which were below our engineer's estimate of $500,000. The low bid on this project was $472, $472,155.
It's not as easy as it looks, huh?
No, it isn't. That bid was from Resource Development Company. The project is scheduled to start in May and be completed by July 1. Staff recommends award of the contract to Resource Development Company. With that, I'll open it up to any questions you might have.
Questions from the council? Seeing none, I'm looking for a motion. Ms. Bybee.
I move to approve the construction contract AC 6106 in the amount of $472,155 with Resource Development Company, LLC, for the Springland Sewer Improvement Project, bid number 24-25-007, PWP WA 2025-080.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Rob. 10.1, Madam Clerk, this is a public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is public hearing consideration and possible approval of resolution number 3459, a resolution approving the issuance of up to $23 million of Public Finance Authority revenue obligations for the benefit of the Afton at Sparks Marina LLC for purposes of Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 as amended at no cost or obligation to the City of Sparks.
You have a presentation, Jeff?
Very brief.
A short presentation?
Very brief.
Thank you.
Since this is an IRS compliance action item to, in the long and the short of it, I'm going to read a quick little blurb and then just ask, if you have any questions. But this is something we haven't done before. So I just want to make sure I get the right words on the record. So the Afton at Sparks Marina LLC is seeking to issue tax-exempt revenue bonds in an amount not to exceed $23 million to construct the senior affordable housing project called the Afton at Sparks Marina. Section 147F of the Internal Revenue Code requires public approval by the City of Sparks City Council of private activity bonds. In accordance with the Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, otherwise known as TEFRA, a public hearing, commonly called the TEFRA hearing, must be held by the City of Sparks prior to the issuance of tax-exempt bonds for the benefit of nonprofit organizations who have capital needs or projects within the City of Sparks. The bonds being considered are not issued by the city, and the city will not incur any cost or assume any liability for the bonds. So long and the short of it, we just need to hold a public hearing. I see your gavel in your hand. So we need to hold a public hearing as required by the IRS and approval of the attached resolution, which allows them to issue their tax-exempt bonds. But again, I can't emphasize these are not city bonds. I can't emphasize it enough that these are not city bonds and we're not going to incur any liability. It's just that the project is within the city boundaries and we have to give them our approval and hold the public hearing. So with that, I'll answer any questions. We do have representatives here from Call to Action. Should you have any questions about the project itself or the financing?
Mr. Anderson.
Don't have any questions, sir, but just want to thank staff for working on this and Call to Action. This was one that was kind of frustrating because it looked like at best it was going to be delayed considerably because of funding. And I appreciate staff getting creative and looking at some of these other opportunities and working on it for us. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to the project being finished.
Anyone else? All right. This is a public hearing, so when anyone in the public wishes to speak on this item, please come forward. If not, I will close the public hearing and bring it back to the dais. And I'm looking for a vote, a motion rather. Mr. Anderson.
I move to approve resolution number 3459, a resolution approving the issuance of up to $23 million in dollars of Public Finance Authority revenue obligations.
CBA between the city and Local 731 regarding ambulance service. As you are aware, the city began operating an ambulance on July 1 of 2024. This MOU would be retroactive to that date. The MOU defines medic unit, it outlines staffing for a medic unit, and it provides for a 5% special assignment pay for hours an employee is assigned to the medic unit, again, retroactive to July 1. This special assignment pay is anticipated to increase the city's costs by $42,182 in fiscal year 25. That cost increase is offset by revenue collected for ambulance transport fees. To date, that amount is over $355,000. We do appreciate Local 731 working with staff on this MOU to get to a resolution. I'm happy to answer any questions, and a reminder that this is a public hearing.
Says it right here, and it's highlighted,
That doesn't always help you, sir.
double highlighted.
I would have hit you if you didn't get the cap on.
Ms. Vanderwell.
Thank you. Is there a reason why this was not in the last collective bargaining agreement?
We were still negotiating some of the terms.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, let's open this up. This is a public hearing. Anyone in the public wishing to speak on this item? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to the dais, and we're looking for a motion. Mr. Rodriguez.
Move to approve the memorandum of understanding AC-6102, amending the collective bargaining agreement AC-6087 between the City of Sparks and the National Association of Firefighters Local 731 regarding medic units with an estimated cost increase of $42,182 in fiscal year 25.
Mr. Rabbit.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Thanks, Allison. 10.3, second reading. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is second reading, public hearing, discussion, and possible adoption of Bill Number 2831, amending Title 15 of the Sparks Municipal Code, Buildings and Construction, to include the 2024 edition of the International Building Code, International Residential Code, International Mechanical Code, Uniform Mechanical Code, Uniform Plumbing Code, International Fuel Gas Code, International Energy Conservation Code, International Existing Building Code, International Wildland Urban Interface Code, International Swimming Pool and Spa Code, 2023 edition of the National Electrical Code, and the 2024 Northern Nevada Amendments, each of which are to become effective January 1st, 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Aaron Viviano. I'm the building plans examiner here for the building department. Staff would like to recommend that we adopt some new codes. It's time for us to start considering a new set of code books. These codes are authored by the International Code Council, the International Association of Plumbing and Mechanical Officials, and the National Fire Protection Agency. The International Uniform and NFPA codes are the predominant building codes across the United States. These codes are written every 3 years, and historically we have adopted these codes every 6 years. These codes were just very well spoken. Mentioned as to what we're looking to adopt: the International Building Code, Residential and Mechanical Codes, the Uniform Mechanical and Plumbing Code, International Fuel Gas, Energy Conservation, Existing Building, Urban Wildland Urban Interface, Swimming Pool Spa, and an Electrical Code. Building codes establish a minimum standard and safeguard life and public welfare. Adopting the most current codes will help us protect the public to the best that we can, such as structural integrity, plumbing, electrical, mechanical systems, and so forth. We are currently using the 2018 building codes along with the 2018 Northern Nevada amendments. The code books that we've been discussing also have appendices at the back of these books, and we would ask that the council consider adopting these appendices as noted throughout the slide and with the bill. The International Building Code previously had 5 different types of appendices that we wanted to have included. There are no new appendices included. The Residential Code, they changed the way the code was identified, or the appendices were identified, from an A to Z format to a double A to double Z format. We didn't ask that any new appendices be addressed, only that we renamed them. We were not asking for any appendices to be included for the existing building code or the energy conservation code. Under the Uniform Plumbing Code, we did ask to remove one that had been previously approved for rainwater catchment. We'd like to see that water going back into the ground, into the river, and down to the Pyramid Lake. We added indoor horticulture facilities. That was something that, as we all know, is starting to be more prevalent. The Uniform Mechanical Code, we kept the 3 original ones that we had last time approved, and we added indoor horticulture facilities. The International Mechanical Code, no changes there for appendices. The Fuel Gas Code, we did ask to remove Appendix D. Somehow the Board of Appeals got located in this section, and that's also in the Sparks Municipal Code. We didn't want to have duplicates. The Wildland Urban Interface Code, we're asking that you consider adopting Chapter 5, which is the part of the code book that talks about how we construct buildings when we're abutting up to an area susceptible to fire. So we also have Northern Nevada amendments. Since 2006, the building officials in Northern Nevada have worked together to try to come up with consistency in the way we interpret and apply the codes. We want people to, if they're building in Sparks, we want to have it the same in Reno, Washoe County, and the rest of the Northern Nevada. The Northern Nevada International Code Council recently completed an adoption process to develop the 24 Northern Nevada amendments to the international and uniform codes. We had over 80 people from industry. We had 24 businesses and organizations and 11 jurisdictions that worked in that process. An oversight steering committee and 8 technical committees developed the amendments. These are the participating jurisdictions here. So Carson City, Fernley, Douglas, Story. You can see all of the folks that are there. We had a good bit from the people in Northern Nevada. These were the participating organizations. You can see we had architects, engineers, developers, Southwest Gas. Again, we had a good input from a lot of the people who are in our area that had an interest in what happened to these codes. So as to highlights for the code changes, a lot of the stuff was kind of minor, like this first one. We just needed to make the building codes mirror that of the state requirements. So where we had to change numbers from 5 individuals to 6 in order to match what was going on with state requirements for something like a Group E daycare. The next 2 items that were on here were amendments to the Energy Code. The way the Energy Code was authored, it said we were supposed to have mandated power generation on top of all new commercial buildings. That was removed through the amendment process. Reducing energy monitoring to a continuous disaggregated end-use total. The code was written saying that we needed to be able to tell at any given moment how much power was being used for lighting, or equipment, or heating and cooling. That was an expensive proposition. Now all they have to do is show the end use. So at the end of the month, we can say we used X amount of power for lighting, we used X amount for heating and cooling. So it will be less expensive to put in this end use means of measuring rather than continuous. Whenever you're making changes to the Energy Code, we need to make sure that we're not stepping on the toes of NRS. 702.220 states in there that we will not materially lessen the effective energy savings requirements of the codes. So we took our proposals to the Governor's Office of Energy. They've reviewed it and they've approved it. So we've got a clean bill of health from them from our amendment process that for those 2 items that we mentioned. If the city of Sparks approves this ordinance, we basically will have a 6 to an 8 month grace period where you'll be able to use either the 18 codes or the 24s. But come the first of the year, January 1st, 26, it will be solely under the 24 codes. Staff recommends the council consider adopting the 24 international codes, the 24 uniform codes, the 23 electric code, the 24 Northern Nevada amendments, as well as selected appendices associated with the code books as identified in Bill 2831 that is before the council and this presentation. So thank you, and do you have any questions?
Questions from the council? Mr. Rodriguez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you kind of give us like a snapshot of what the Chapter 5 of the WOBE Code that you're looking to proposing to adopt?
Certainly. Currently, we had Chapter 5 adopted previously. And it talks about what we're supposed to do on the outside of the building, whether we have fire-rated construction, how far we have to be away from property lines, foundation vents, roof vents, things like that have to be designed to prevent sparks and embers from entering those types of things. Windows have to be tempered glass. There's a whole series of things that might come into play depending upon the hazard that that building is exposed to. So one of the things that will need to happen is Sparks Fire will need to come in front of you and ask to get the fire code adopted, as well as the WUI code, the Wildland Urban Interface. If they do in fact put that together, then when I'm completing a plan review and our inspectors are in the field, Chapter 5 is all of the building components that we would be looking to make sure is present to protect the buildings from fire.
And thank you for that. That's amazing. Appreciate that work that you guys are doing. With that, with the meetings that you guys have been having, has anyone from like the insurance commission or anything been around? Because as you know, there's
I have not had any kind of meeting like that, nor have I heard of any of the other jurisdictions having those meetings. One of the things that will happen is if Sparks Fire goes through with their adoption process, they will need to identify a hazard map. That's one of the things that's been preventing us from implementing that currently. Our prior building official did not want us to use Washoe County's map. They wanted our fire department to come up with their map. And so we are awaiting that map to tell us what is an intermediate or high hazard type area. And so we're waiting for that in order to start implementing it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone else? Okay, I'm looking for a motion. Oh, or right in front of me too. Highlight, double highlight. Yeah. All right, this is a public hearing. Anyone in the public wishing to speak on this item? I'll close it and bring it back to the dais. And I'm looking for a motion. Ms. Vanderwell.
I move to approve.
Mr. Rodriguez, do we need to read the motion for this one in particular? We good?
I'm happy with it, but I'm not in charge.
Okay, all right, Mr. Rodriguez.
I second.
Got a motion and a second. Any
Mr.
further
Mayor.
discussion? Pardon me?
The attorney asked me to read it. Okay.
Okay.
That's okay.
So we're
Pick the hardest
we're
one
pulling
of the
back
day.
the motion and the second.
Yeah, there you go. I move to adopt a bill number 2831, amending Title 15 of the Sparks Municipal Code, Buildings and Construction, to include the 2024 edition of the International Building Code, International Residential Code, International Mechanical Code, Uniform Mechanical Code, Uniform Plumbing Code, International Fuel Gas Code, International Energy Conservation Code, International Existing Building Code, International Wildland Urban Interface Code, International Swimming Pool and Spa Code, 2023 edition of the National Electrical Code, and the 2024 Northern Nevada amendments, each of which are to become effective January 1st, 2026.
Now we're looking for a second, Mr. Rodriguez. All right, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you,
Thanks,
everybody.
Aaron. We don't have any planning and zoning public hearings. We're back down to public comment. Anyone in the public wishing to comment? Seeing none, we'll bring that back to the dais. And any comments from the council? Mr. Abbott?
Yeah, just gonna invite everyone. Tomorrow we have an open house partnered up with the Chamber of Commerce here in these beautiful chambers at 9 a.m. So it's open for anyone. You don't have to be a member of the Chamber of Commerce. You can just be, you don't even have to own a business. Everyone's welcome to come out, support, and I believe it's on all of our calendars. I should be there. Just want to remind everyone, so it should be a pretty good time. It's, I think, the first time we ever really did an open house over here in Sparks, and just a reminder to invite everyone to be here.
Anyone else? Anything from the manager's office? Nothing from, oh, Mr. Abbott wants to speak again? Am I just reading that? All right, we're up to adjourn.